Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee. We have a number of councillors with us this morning who are using the opportunity to gain a bit more experience on how the subcommittee operates. Whilst you will see their attendance, they will not be taking part in any discussions or deliberations. So if I might start, first of all, then, the item 1 on the agenda is the election of chairman. Could we have a proposal for election of chairman, please?
Could I propose Councillor Flake, please?
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Farquhar?
Councillor George Farquhar, I second that proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Farquhar. Item 2 on this morning's agenda, apologies. I'm pretty certain there are no apologies this morning, but I'm sure Sarah will just confirm that.
Yes, Chairman, confirm there are no apologies this morning, and I'm happy to go through the housekeeping as well, Chairman, should you wish.
Thank you. Item 3, declarations of interest. Councillor Farquhar and Councillor Moore, do you have any declarations in respect of this morning's meeting?
None for me.
Councillor George Farquhar, none from me.
Thank you, members. Protocol for public speaking at virtual meetings. A revised protocol for the public speaking at formal virtual meetings of the Licensing Subcommittee when it is considering Licensing Act 2003 business is included with the agenda for this morning's meeting. Sarah, would you just like to run through the housekeeping for me?
Yes, Chairman. So please note that this meeting of the Licensing Subcommittee is being recorded by the Council for live broadcast and will be published on the Council website for a minimum of 6 months. In order to ensure the meeting is managed effectively, please could everyone present follow these ground rules for speaking. Only speak when invited to by the Chair. State your name before you speak if you have not been introduced by name. Please ensure that you unmute yourself and always turn on the video function before speaking. Mute your microphone when you are not talking. After each party has made their representation, the Chair will ask each any questions or comments. However, if at any point you would like to speak, please use the raise your hand function at the top right of the screen. Finally, please ensure background noise is kept to a minimum and mobile phones and other devices are turned off or switched to silent for the duration of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Move on to item 5 on this morning's agenda, the late night store 690-692 Christchurch Road, Bournemouth. An application by Dorset Police for a review of the premises licence for the premises known as Late Night Store 690-692 Christchurch Road, Bournemouth was received by the Licensing Authority on the 27th of March 2023. This matter is brought to the Licensing Subcommittee for consideration. Members, please note, in accordance with Regulation 11.1 and 2 of the Licensing Act 2003 Hearings Regulations 2005, the Licensing Authority has extended the time limit provided for the regulations for a specified period where it considers this to be necessary in the public interest. In this case, the period with which a hearing must be held is extended until the 31st of May 2023 to follow the appointment of the Licensing Committee at the Council meeting on the 23rd of May. An application for a review of the premises known as Late Night Stores 690-692 Christchurch Road has been submitted by Dorset Police. This matter is now brought before the Licensing Subcommittee for determination. I will now ask each participant to introduce themselves and start with myself, Councillor David Flagg, the elected chairman for this morning's meeting. Councillor Moore?
Yeah, Councillor Sandra Moore. I represent Camford Heath ward and I'm a vice chair of the Licensing Committee.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Farquhar?
Councillor George Farquhar, I represent Boscombe East and Folkestone, and I'm a committee member for this sub licensing committee.
Thank you, Councillor Farquhar. And just to remind those in attendance this morning, we have in attendance Councillor Chapman-Law and Councillor Dower, along with Councillor Harman, Councillor Hilliard, and I believe Councillor Richardson. None of the observers will participate in the hearing deliberations. I'd also like to welcome Sergeant Gareth Gosling and Louise
Good morning,
Busfield.
Chair.
Good morning, Sergeant. Louise Busfield. Good morning, Louise.
Good morning, Chair.
Mr. Dave Ramsey, representing the premises licence holder stroke DPS.
Good morning, Chair.
Morning. And Mr. Aras Dord, premises licence holder DPS.
Good morning.
Thank you. Tanya Jardim, licensing officer.
Good morning, Chair.
And Joanne McNamara, the legal advisor to the subcommittee.
Thank you, Chair.
And last but not least, Sarah Colwick, the clerk to the subcommittee.
Good morning.
Before I run through the procedure, please may I check that all persons with intention to speak have been identified, and any person who wishes to withdraw a representation or wishes not to speak has been identified. If there are no comments, I will take this as correct. I will now explain the proposed procedure and order of speaking for the hearing as follows. The licensing officer presents the report. The applicant will make their application. Questions of the applicant by all parties, members of the committee, subcommittee to go first. Responsible authorities and other persons will make their representations. Questions of the responsible authorities and other persons, members of the committee, subcommittee, once again to go first. All parties will be given an opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last to go first. The hearing will then conclude. The subcommittee will deliberate in private with the legal advisor and clerk present. Notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day of the last day on which the hearing was held, in accordance with the regulations. The notification of decision will include information about the right to appeal as appropriate. I will now ask all parties to confirm agreement on the proposal procedure or make representations. Sergeant Gosling?
Yes, Chair, in respect of that, can I just be clear whether it's ourselves as the applicant that will be going first?
My understanding, having read the papers, that it would be you going first, but if
Yes.
Tanya could just confirm that that's correct.
That's correct. The applicant goes first.
Yeah.
Thank you, Chair.
Yes,
I'm in
so-
agreement.
so-
Thank you.
Thank you.
It will be Louise that that does the majority of what goes of today's hearing.
Thank you. Mr. Ramsey, are you happy with that?
Yes, all agreed. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dord? Happy with that?
Yes, I
procedure?
agree.
Yeah, thank you.
Yes, I agree.
And just to double check, Tanya and Joanne.
Yeah, that's correct. Thank you.
Yes, correct.
you.
Thank you, Chair.
Finally, may I remind all parties speaking not to repeat the information which they have already given in writing, but to expand on their written representations. All questions are to be asked through the chair, and there will be no cross-examination of parties. I will now ask the licensing officer to present the report. Tanya.
Thank you, Chair. So Dorset Police have applied to store under Section 51 of the Licensing Act on the grounds that they believe the premises are not upholding the Prevention of Crime and Disorder licensing objective. The review application was lodged following various visits by Dorset Police to the premises where repeated breaches of the licensing conditions were witnessed, namely conditions 2.1.2, 2.1.6, 2.1.7 and 2.1.8 relating to CCTV, conditions 2.4, 2.4.1 and 2.10 relating to the strength of alcohol being offered for sale, condition 2.5 requiring contact details for members of staff authorised to sell alcohol, condition 2.11 relating to an incident log, condition 2.12 relating to staff training, and condition 2.15 with regards to the requirement to fix a waste bin outside the premises. Despite Dorset Police's attempt to support and encourage the premises licence holder in adhering to the licence conditions, they repeatedly operated in breach. Dorset Police no longer have confidence in the licence holder, who is also the named designated premises supervisor. These premises have benefited from a premises licence since 26th of July 2022. As explained in my report, the premises applied for a minor variation to the licence in August 2022, and this was to increase the ABV of alcohol to 7%. However, following objection from Dorset Police, the application was withdrawn. Members are reminded that any powers exercised by them must be appropriate and proportionate for the promotion of the licensing objective and directed at the causes of concern, which the application identifies, once these have been established following the hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanya. Do members have any questions for the officer at all? Councillor Farquhar?
Not at this time, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Moore?
Not at this time, thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Can I now ask Louise Busfield or Sergeant Gosling to introduce the item, please?
Yeah, good morning, committee and chair. So by way of introduction to some of the newer members and those observing, under Sergeant Gosling, the Drug and Alcohol Harm Prevention Team seeks to work with licensees, premises license holders, operators, colleagues and partner agencies throughout the conurbation in Dorset in order to ensure the promotion of the licensing objectives. So, as such, when I was mediating just a year or so ago appropriate and proportionate conditions for a licensed premises on this part of Christchurch Road in Boscombe, one of the main issues that was prevalent in the area was that of antisocial behaviour and street drinking. So the mediation was very much around how we could support the provision of another licensed premises whilst it enhances the local provision and not being detrimental to the area by providing yet another outlet for high strength alcohol, which we know appeals to a certain demography, which unfortunately is very prevalent in this particular area. So further to this mediation, which was obviously agreed with the applicant to limit the ABV, the strength of beer, lager and cider, to 5.5%. We also agreed a restriction in the size of spirits that should be sold. So we agreed basically full bottles of spirits to be sold rather than miniatures or quarter bottles, which again might be of appeal to a different demography. So by agreeing these conditions, it would ensure that the premises, as I said, would enhance a provision for the local area and not compound the problems that we were hearing about on a daily basis from local businesses, the local residential community as well. As I mentioned, the Drug and Alcohol Harm Reduction Team does endeavour to support and engage with local operators. As Tanya did say, we have engaged extensively with the operator and the representatives of the operator at Late Night Store. And it's not just me, it's Sergeant Gosling, it's my colleagues from Boscombe Neighbourhood Policing Team, partner agencies we have visited on numerous occasions in order to support the licensee in achieving a standard whereby he would then be able to comply with the conditions of his alcohol license. We offered support, we offered links to training opportunities to empower him and his staff to be able to promote the licensing objectives. However, despite this extensive engagement, Mr. Dowd was either unwilling or unable to comply with the conditions of the premises license, as has been detailed. And most concerningly is the continued provision of high strength beer, cider, lager, again, against the conditions attached to his premises license, and which we know appeals to a certain demographic. As it does state in the application for review, it has been witnessed that street drinkers have actually been sold alcohol from this premises, which is in excess of 5.5%, which is something that we really strove to try and avoid when we mediated the conditions for the license this time last year. So given that background and the comprehensive details that's provided within the review application, we had no option really but to bring our concerns to the attention of the subcommittee. So without reiterating everything that is included in the document, which I hope you've all had time to read and digest, we invite the subcommittee to consider all the options available under the Licensing Act 2003, with consideration being given to the revocation of the premises license. However, I have received recent information that Mr. Dowd is proposing the sale of the premises, and I understand that this sale is contingent on the premises retaining a premises license. This is very recent, and whilst we're not in a position to make recommendations or observations based on financial considerations, it would be of concern if this operator was still allowed to run the premises pending any sort of transfer of the business or the premises license. And we would therefore entreat the subcommittee to ensure that, should revocation not be an option for you today, that serious consideration be made to suspending all licensable activities of late night store until such time we are confident that there is a legitimate transfer of the business and premises license to an individual or business that is totally unconnected with the current operator. It's recent information that I've just been made aware of, so if you've got any questions, obviously please feel free to ask myself or Mr. Dowd's representative. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. Members, do you have any questions for Louise Busfield? Councillor Moore?
Well, I was just querying, has a new purchaser actually been found to buy the premises? Is it going to be, you know, something that could possibly take place in the very near future, or whereabouts is the purchase? I understand it's, you know, they want to keep the license because that goes with the sale, but how close to purchasing are the people?
Is that for me to answer, for his representative, Chair?
Probably the representatives.
I think, Chair, that question would need to go to Mr. Ramsey when Mr. Ramsey presents the case on behalf of the licence holder. Thank you.
My apologies. I'll wait.
Thank you, Joanne. Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Farquhar.
Yes, please, Chair. Could I ask just how recent this information that there was a plan by Mr. Dowd to sell the premises was received?
I'm in contact with Mr. Ramsey on a fairly regular basis, not with respect necessarily to this premises, but because he represents other premises also. And it was mooted a little while ago, and he mentioned a current operator, but I wasn't able to come up with his name, so I wasn't able to confirm that perhaps he was one of our more responsible operators. When I actually phoned Mr. Ramsey on Friday to ask where we were at, because I hadn't received any further information in this regard. And he sent me a document that had been signed actually that same day on Friday. I don't know how legitimate it is. I'm not up to speed in contract law, so I wouldn't be able to say whether it is a formal contract of sale. Again, that's perhaps up to your legal advisors.
Thank you, Louise.
If I may, Chair, a further question. Can we just touch upon witnessing of the sale or the continued sale of high strength alcohol? Can we just touch upon the circumstances of the witness of sale to of over 5.5 ABV, if that's possible, please?
So the actual, well, I've visited on many occasions, and every time that I've visited, there has been alcohol, both on display and within the store, that exceeds 5.5%, and it's substantial amounts of alcohol that are in the storeroom. So there were also bottles of miniature spirits behind the counter, a large display unit containing them. In terms of witnessing the sale of high strength alcohol, that was my colleague from the neighbourhood policing team, who's currently working with multi-agencies, trying to get injunctions against street drinkers because of the antisocial behaviour that they're causing in the area. And he actually witnessed, it's PC Buchanan, as it states in the review paperwork, he actually witnessed a street drinker who was, in his opinion, visually intoxicated, enter the store where she was sold a can of high strength alcohol. I don't know whether it was Mr. Dowd or whether one of his colleagues was in the store at the time, but the transaction was made within the store, and then she proceeded to come outside the store and open the can.
So, Chair, if I may, just to confirm, a known individual, which injunctions have been stressed to be applied because of the public nuisance that they're causing due to probably antisocial behaviour, enter the store while intoxicated or visibly intoxicated, purchased a can of high strength alcohol from that store, left the store, and then opened the store and opened the alcohol in the street. Is that correct? A police constable saw that.
Indeed, the police constable saw it, and what's more, witnessed it on his body-worn video.
Thank you. No further questions at this time, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Farquhar. I have a question, please, Louise. Reading the report, I note that I'm not sure what the paragraph number it is, but it was date on the 17th of March 2023, and the last sentence says, Mr. Ramsey assured Dorset Police that all products not conforming to the premises licence had been removed from display. When we go to the next paragraph, your visit at 10:30 a.m., you discovered that non-compliant products still remained on display. Can you confirm if those products were then removed after your visit at 10:30, or did they still remain on the shelves for sale?
Again, as I said, Mr. Ramsey and I do discuss other premises, and it was just coincidence that he had phoned me on that morning about a different premises. We then went on to speak about late night store, and he said, no, the operator has assured me that he's removed all non-compliant alcohol from the display. I was in the area at the time, hence the impromptu visit that I made, and I did discover that there was still non-compliant products on display. I don't know whether he then removed it subsequent to my visit, but I didn't have the confidence or feel the need to keep visiting to ensure and to remind him, because Mr. Dowd was seemingly unwilling to remove the alcohol from display.
Thank you for that, Louise. Do members have any further questions? And Mr. Ramsey, do you have any questions for Louise Busfield at all?
No questions, Chair.
Thank you. Sorry. Do we have any questions or representations from the responsible authorities, Tanya?
No, Chair, we received no further information or representations from any of the authorities.
Thank you. Can I then ask Mr. Ramsey, would you like to address the committee, please?
Yes, good morning, members of the committee. I don't intend to take up your valuable time by going over the history of the premises and the shortcomings and failings of Mr. Dodd and his staff during the time. You've already heard this and read this from the police representation. This was my client's first venture into the licensed trade, and it has become apparently clear to both Dorset Police and to Mr. Dowd himself that he has found it difficult to meet the high standards necessary to operate this premises in a responsible manner. On speaking at length to my client, it appears that although he gained his level 2 APLH, his knowledge and understanding of the responsibilities under the Licensing Act were severely lacking, resulting in today's hearing. Mr. Dodd fully accepts and apologises for the problems at this review hearing. He sadly accepts that the licensed trade is not for him. As a result of this, in early April, he advertised his premises for sale. He now has a retail business purchase agreement with a Mr. Ashish Babaria to purchase the late night store. The sale totally dependent on you, the committee, allowing the premises license to continue and be transferred immediately to Mr. Babaria. This agreement was made with the assistance of the legal team at Your Consultancy Limited in London. The condition, there's actually a special condition on the agreement regarding the dependent on the license continue. I have to emphasise that prior to this premises being put up for sale, there was no connection at all between Mr. Babaria and Mr. Dodd. The transfer, that there is no connection, no history at all between the two of them. Since just a bit about Mr. Babaria and his businesses. Mr. Babaria, since 2018, has run the NISA local and post office at 247 Castle Lane West in Bournemouth. He's run the premises to a very high standard, despite the added pressure of it being next door to a very busy Broadway public house. I have personally visited the premises and examined the operation, especially his documentation, and found it to be of a high standard, more than meeting with the conditions on his current premises licence there. He has worked in the licensed trade for 13 years, and prior to purchasing the store in Bournemouth, he ran 3 successful licensed convenience stores in the Crawley area, some in difficult and deprived areas. Mr. Babaria is aware of the specific difficulties of running a premises in Christchurch Road in Boscombe, and is also happy with the strict conditions that are attached to the licence at the moment, the ones that Mr. Dodd failed to comply by. However, he is confident that he has the experience, the skill and the staff to operate the premises to a high standard set in the premises similar to the premises in Castle Lane West. Members of the committee, I would respectfully request that you allow the premises licence to continue on the condition that it is immediately transferred to Mr. Barbaria, something that I would do as soon as we receive the outcome of the hearing from yourselves. And I'm confident that the late night stores would be run in a responsible manner in the future days. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Members, do you have any questions for Mr. Ramsey at all? Councillor Farquhar?
Yes, indeed. Can I ask Mr. Ramsey, through you, Chair, Mr. Ramsey, we've identified that Mr. Dowd is, to use your words, I believe, well, to use my own words, totally out of his depth. Could I ask what was your relationship with this premises license holder through the process of the fact that the license has only been held for less than a year? Were you originally involved in helping him to acquire the license, the premises?
No, I wasn't, and I think there was a bit of confusion in a comment that was made, and I noted it in the representation from the written representation from the police. I think Sergeant Gosling misunderstood when I said that I felt that he'd been given bad advice. I wasn't commenting on Dorset Police and the work that Dorset Police did with him. Mr. Dowd used a company in London. My first contact with Mr. Dowd was when he asked for a variation of the license to change the condition regarding the ABV of the alcohol. So that's the first time I came into contact with him.
Thank you, Chair. Just to clarify then, the variation on that license was in August 2022, but the premises license itself was granted on 26th July 2022. So in theory, less than 1 month after the premises license was issued, then Mr. Dowd immediately asked for the variation on the condition which was set because of the ASB and street drinking in this particular area to be dropped and increased, that it could be an ABV of 7% or more, and that's when you first became involved, less than a month after the premises license was granted, and less than a month after Mr. Dowd asked for a variation. So therefore, you've known Mr. Dowd since August of 22. Is that correct?
That's correct. And you'll notice I took the instruction discussed, then there was discussions with Dorset Police, and it was actually withdrawn.
Okay, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Moore, did you have any questions for Mr. Ramsey?
Yeah, it was just about taking over the premises. You say a purchaser's it's imminent. How can you define imminent? You would transfer it straight away, or what? That's
correct. The purchase agreement is completed. That's what caused the delay in notifying the police. And the deal, the sale of the premises was spoken about at the beginning of April, shortly after the review documentation came out. That's when Mr. Dowd made his decision to sell. The offer came in very quickly, but we were waiting for that official paperwork to come, and it arrived just as Mrs. Westfield said, just before the bank holiday weekend. We now have that agreement, and if the committee decided to allow the licence to continue, as soon as I received that information, the transfer would be submitted.
Thank you.
Chair, could I just ask Mr. Ramsey a question just in relation to that, just so that everyone's clear?
Thank you, Joe.
So, Ms. Ramsey, you're saying as soon as you get notification as whatever the decision is of the subcommittee today, and if that is favourable to the sale going ahead, it would be immediate. So the transfer would be immediate. It wouldn't be for a date in the future. It would be there and then once. So in essence, if your client was notified of the result next Monday and it was favourable to him, you're saying that that business will be transferred on Monday to the new operator. Is that what we're saying?
Yes, on having spoken to Mr. Barbaria and Mr. Dowd, that is my understanding, that as soon as a transfer is allowed, if it is allowed, it would go ahead straight away.
Okay, thank you. And so I just can be clear as well as the members, once that, if that took place, everything, if the DPS would change everything, are we clear that the DPS wouldn't be Mr. Dowd?
No, Mr. Barbaria would be the DPS, and Mr. Dowd would have no connection with the premises whatsoever.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is Mr. Dowd still with us? Did he wish to address the committee at all?
Mr. Dowd was with us, and he was there for any questions that the committee had.
I have a question, Mr. Ramsey. I don't know whether you would be able to answer it or not, but clearly there's an issue with products on the shelf that shouldn't be there. And my question to Mr. Dowd, had he been still with us, is can he categorically assure me that those products which shouldn't be on the shelves are no longer on the shelf?
Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, my phone was temperature too hot. There is non-alcoholic in the premises that shouldn't be there anymore. And then I do really apologize for that.
Okay, thank you for that. I have a question from Councillor Farquhar for you. Councillor Farquhar.
Thank you, Chair. This will be a question for Mr. Ramsey and maybe Mr. Dowd as well. I must admit that I'm extremely uncomfortable to sort of be in what essentially seems to be a negotiation stake for the continuation of a license, for premises license within a committee, a subcommittee hearing. My question is this: is that can Mr. Ramsey or Mr. Dowd drill into or explain more how this deal came about? Did Mr. Dowd approach Mr. Barbaria? Did Mr. Ramsey approach Mr. Barbaria? How did Mr. Barbaria come into the knowledge that a premises license or a premises with a premises license was available for sale?
Yeah, I can answer that question for you. This was advertised for sale, and one of the platforms was on Facebook Marketplace. And the wife of Mr. Barbaria saw the premises on Facebook Marketplace and brought it to the attention of her husband.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey.
If I may, Chair.
Yes, of course, Councillor.
Can we understand the advertisement, and is there a copy of the advertisement that we can see, and when was the advertisement placed? Because essentially this is a premises with a premises license in a area which the police are struggling to control antisocial behavior, and it is being advertised on Facebook Marketplace. Is that what I'm hearing here?
Yeah, Facebook Marketplace, I noticed your reaction to that. It is quite a substantial marketplace now, if you care to go into it. I don't see that there's a problem with where it was advertised. I think that's something that's happening all the time now. Mr. Dowd might be able to tell you if there is a copy or whether he has a copy of that advert or not. I'm not aware of that.
If I may, Chair, would Mr. Dowd be able to say if he's advertised it elsewhere, why did he choose that Facebook would be an appropriate location for premises that's under review, to advertise his business with a premises license on Facebook? Did he advertise it elsewhere? What was the thought process that Mr. Dowd had to offload, my terminology, his business?
Mr. Ramsey or Mr. Dowd, did you wish to answer that one, please?
Yeah, well, I did advertise in a Facebook marketplace, which is my wife did. And then someone just contacted my wife. And then I do have the message comes from Mr. Ashes's wife to my wife. That's how we got the deal to sell my business to him.
If I may, Chair, could we ask when that message was received, please?
When?
Do you have a date for that, Mr. Dowd?
Yes. Just bear with me 1 second. I'll try to get the date. Well, I'm gonna have to look. My wife have to look for that date on her phone to find the actual date that we had. That she had a conversation with Mr. Ashish, his wife.
Okay, I think it would be. Sorry,
Chair.
I think it would be very helpful if you would be able to contact your wife, Mr. Dowd, straight away and provide the committee with that date. It would be very helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. She's right next to me. She's just trying to get the date out on her phone. So
thank you.
Councillor Farquhar. Looking, yeah. Thank you.
If I may, Chair, while we're trying to seek that information, because I think this is quite pertinent to the nature of this supposed transaction. If Mr. Ramsey could say exactly when he was first in contact with Mr. Barbaria to, I don't know if this is the correct terminology, to broker this deal, to investigate Mr. Barbaria's previous DPS history, previous premises licensing history. So if we could have the exact date that Mr. Ramsey got in touch with Mr. Barbaria and who actually initiated that contact, please.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Ramsey?
Yes, I'm just looking for the date that I was informed of the possible sale. It was at the beginning of April, shortly after the notice came out, the hearing, the review hearing. I then contacted Mr. Barbaria and went and visited his premises at that stage, just to speak to him. And basically, one of the main things that I wanted to speak to him was to confirm that there was no previous relationship between him and Mr. Dodd. I'll try and get you that date, but it was no more than, I don't think it was more than a week after the review hearing came out.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Mr. Dowd.
Yeah, I got that message. It was 2nd of April.
2nd of April that it was posted on Facebook Marketplace.
No, his wife messaged to my wife on the 2nd of April.
Right, okay. Thank you for that. I think at this point I'd like to ask either Louise or Sergeant Gosling, would you be able to explain to the committee whether or not you were aware of this transaction, and if so, when it was first brought to your attention? Louise?
Yeah, I think I'm probably best placed to answer this because, as I say, I've been in regular dialogue with Mr. Ramsey. He did contact me. We spoke about it probably some 3 or 4 weeks ago in respect of this review, because I contacted Mr. Ramsey initially to ask if he was representing Mr. Dowd in this review hearing, at which time Mr. Ramsey said no, he wasn't representing Mr. Dowd. And then subsequently, I had a message from Mr. Ramsey saying, yes, he was going to represent Mr. Dowd and that he'd been potentially talking to a purchaser. Mr. Ramsey at that time couldn't confirm which premises it was. He gave me a description of the fact that it was a convenience store near to the Broadway pub, but he couldn't give me the premises license holder's details at that time. It was only when I chased Mr. Ramsey on Friday to try and ascertain exactly where we were in anticipation of this hearing that he sent me a document which was signed, I think, by both parties, by Mr. Dowd and the potential purchaser, on the same date. It was the 25th of May. So yes, I spoke to Mr. Ramsey on Friday and he produced the agreement that had been signed the previous day. As I say, I don't know whether that document has any legal standing, and that's not part of my remit, fortunately. So it was only on Friday, actually, that I received the name of the potential purchaser.
Thank you for that, Louise. Right. Joanne, did you have a question?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, it was just to the police. Now that obviously you've heard who the potential purchaser is and where his current premises are, I just wondered if you knew anything about that purchaser, what your views are.
When we have an application for a transfer of a premises license, that's when we do the due diligence checks, the local checks. We would then research any interactions we've had, if it's an existing premises license holder in our area. We would also do a PNC, a Police National Computer check, to see if they've got any previous convictions. Again, if it's an operator unknown to us, but who's been operating in other areas, we contact our colleagues in other forces, our licensing colleagues in other forces, and share information about how the premises have been operated. But until such time that a transfer comes through, it's not within our gift to recommend that a business is sold to any given individual.
Thank you, Louise. Members, I think at this point, I would ask if Mr. Ramsey, would you care to sum up at all? Is there anything you'd like to add, bring to the attention of the committee?
Yes, I will. Just further on what Mrs. Busfield said regarding the premises, it was quite simple. As she said, it was about 4 weeks ago that I actually did let Mrs. Busfield know where the premises was, what the premises was, and I fully expected the police to visit the premises, as I did, to see whether they were fit and proper to put forward as a potential transfer of the licence. I just wanted to point that out, that although the agreement arrived, as you know, with legal documents, they do take time. The police were aware well in advance where the premises was and what premises it was. In summing up, I would just like to say that I have no doubt at all from speaking to Mr. Ashish that he is a competent person to take this premises on. As I said before, his management of his premises in Castle Lane West is exceptionally good, and also his paperwork and his training is exceptionally good. I think Mr. Dodds has made it quite clear that he has no intention of carrying on in the licensed trade, and as he has said, he has removed all the necessary alcohol from the shelves, and he's said that today. I would just respectfully request that you consider allowing the premises licence to continue on the condition that the transfer is immediately to Mr. Barbaria, and that Mr. Dodd and his staff no longer have any dealings at that premises. And I am convinced that it would be carried on in a responsible manner.
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey. Can I just confirm? I made a note of the potential purchaser as being Mr. Barbaria. Did you use his Christian name or first name, should I say, rather than?
Yeah, his first name is Ashish, and
Ashish, right,
his
okay.
surname is Babaria.
Yeah, just wanted to clear that up. Thank you.
Yeah, and he has the premises in Castle Lane is the premises license holder is Urvi Limited, his company.
Thank you very much. Louise, is there anything you'd like to add to your application for the committee at all?
Well, I'm certainly happy to sum up if it's my turn to do so.
Yes,
Is
please.
that okay? So thank you very much, subcommittee, and thank you for understanding the concerns that Dorset Police has in respect to this premises. I would like to say, actually, I'd like to share with you an email that I received in the middle of May from one of the neighbourhood policing teams, and please, please tell me if I'm not allowed to share this, but I think it's most positive. And it says, "Hi Louise, following our visits over the last couple of months, the antisocial behaviour in the area has dropped significantly. From speaking with a street drinker today, one who doesn't cause too many problems, he stated that he's now unable to buy alcohol in many of the premises that he used to frequent. So in terms of the work that we have done, we are very confident that we are supporting the local business and community in driving up standards and in supporting licensees in promoting the licensing objectives." So I would then just say to the subcommittee, if you decide against revocation, which I appreciate is on the table, but it's not decided, then there is also an option to remove the DPS in conjunction with any suspension pending transfer of the license. Appreciate the transfer might take more than just, it might be more than just a 24-hour process. I don't know whether Mr. Dowd has got a physical interest in the fabric of the premises as well, or he's just the premises license holder. So just in the interests of us being completely confident, if a transfer does go ahead, we would ask that perhaps there is a period of suspension with removal of DPS until such time the subcommittee and your legal advisors are confident that Mr. Dowd is in no way, shape or form involved in the premises. And on a last note, I'd like to thank Mr. Dowd, as he concurs he's not fit to run a licensed premises. And Mr. Dowd, I know we haven't seen eye to eye during our meetings of late, but I'm grateful for your acknowledgement of your shortcomings, and I wish you luck in focusing on your barber's business. Thank you.
Thank you, Louise. At this point, I would like to conclude the hearing. The subcommittee will deliberate in private with the legal advisor and the clerk present, and the notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day of the last day on which the hearing was held, in accordance with the regulations. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. And can I just say thank you very much for everyone's attendance. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Chair.
Chairman, perhaps we could just go to Joanne to go through the legal right of appeal.
Joanne, could you just thank you?
Yes, obviously the notification of the decision will be a notification in writing, and there is an appeal period should anyone wish to seek to appeal the decision, and that appeal period is 21 days from the date the notice is received in writing, and the appeal is to the Magistrates' Court.
Thank you, Joe. Could I just check with Sarah? Are we looking to cease the live streaming, please?
Thank you, Chairman. Yes, if we could just advise how long we'll be adjourning for the purposes of the live stream. Perhaps a 10-minute break would be convenient whilst we call in the attendee for the next application.
Thank you, Sarah. I'll be guided by your expertise. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. I will pause the live stream now. We are live, Chairman.
Thank you, Sarah. Welcome back, everyone. We will now deal with item agenda number 6, which is an application for a full variation for Pool Stadium, Wimborne Road Pool. An application for a full variation of the premises licence has been received for the premises known as Pool Stadium at Wimborne Road Pool. This matter is now brought before the Licensing Committee for determination. I will now ask each participant to introduce themselves and state their role. I'm Councillor Flagg and I'm the elected chairman and member of the subcommittee. Councillor Moore?
Yeah, Councillor Sandra Moore. I represent Camford Heath Ward and I'm a member of the subcommittee.
Thank you. Councillor Farquhar?
Councillor George Farquhar, I represent Boscombe East and Folkestone, and I'm a member of the subcommittee today.
Thank you, Councillor Farquhar. And just to confirm that we're joined this morning by Councillors Chapman Law, Dower, Harman, Hilliard and Richardson, who are joining us for observation and training purposes. Just to confirm that none of the observers will participate in the hearing or deliberations. And can I ask Mr. Dave Phoebe, would you be kind enough to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, good morning, everyone. My name's David Phoebe and I'm the General Manager at Pool Stadium.
Thank you very much, Mr. Phoebe. There are no objectors attending this morning. And Tanya, could you introduce yourself, please?
Good morning, Tanya Shuddin, Licensing Officer, and who dealt with this application.
Thank you. Joanne? Oh, you're on mute, Joanne. You've lost your sound. We can't hear you.
Mitchell, how funny.
Oh, that's better.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes, I had to plug my headphones in and out. I don't know what happened there. But anyway, sorry, Chair. I'm Joanne McNamara. I'm the legal advisor to the subcommittee today.
Thank you. And Sarah?
Sarah Colwick, Deputy Head of Democratic Services and Clerk to the subcommittee today.
Thank you. Before I run through the procedure, please may I check that all persons who have given notice of their intention to speak have been identified, and any person who wishes to withdraw a representation or wishes not to speak has been identified. If there are no comments, I'll just take this as correct, and as we only have Mr. Phoebe here, I think we can safely say that that's okay. So I will now explain the proposed procedure and order of speaking for the hearing as follows. The licensing officer presents the report. The applicant will make their application. Questions of the applicant by all parties, members of the committee, subcommittee to go first. Responsible authorities and other persons will make their representations. Questions of the responsible authorities and other persons, members of the committee, subcommittee to go first. All parties will be given an opportunity to sum up, with the party who spoke last to go first. The hearing will then conclude. The subcommittee will then deliberate in private with the legal advisor and clerk present. Notification of the subcommittee's decision will be given within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day or the last day on which the hearing was held, in accordance with the regulations. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate. I will now ask parties to confirm agreement on the proposed procedure or make representations. Mr. Phoebe, are you happy with that procedure?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Tanya?
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. And Joanna?
Yes, Chair, thank you.
Thank you. Finally, please may I remind all parties speaking not to repeat the information which they have already given in writing, but to expand on their written representations. All questions are to be asked through the chair and there will be no cross-examination of parties. I will now ask the licensing officer to present the report. Tanya, please.
Thank you, Chair. So Pool Stadium Limited have applied to vary their premises licence to permit them to hold a maximum of 3 outdoor events per year on a Saturday only and drive-in film events during weekends, therefore amending their premises licence to permit licensable activities outdoors. The premises currently benefit from a premises licence that permits regulated entertainment indoors and late night refreshment until 02:30 Monday to Saturday and until 23:30 on Sundays, and on sales of alcohol Monday to Saturday until 0200 hours and 23:30 on Sundays, as well as non-standard timings on New Year's Eve. The application made is to permit regulated entertainment outdoors, namely films Monday to Sunday, 1100 to 2300, to be broadcast direct to vehicles, live music on 3 Saturdays per year from 1100 to 2300 hours, recorded music Monday to Saturday 1100 to 2300 and Sunday 1100 to 22:30 hours. The applicants have provided additional conditions to assist them in upholding the licensing objectives. The Licensing Office received 2 representations in objection to the application from other persons on the grounds that the application would undermine the prevention of public nuisance licensing objective. 1 representation in support of the application was also received. Mediation took place between the applicant and the Environmental Health Officer, and additional conditions have been agreed. These are mentioned in my report, but to clarify, they are as follows. There will be a maximum of 3 music event days per calendar year, either live, recorded, or a combination. Pool Stadium Limited will notify the Environmental Health Office no later than 56 days prior to the date of any music event, and they will notify Environmental Health of who the appointed noise consultant is for the event and provide the first draft of the noise management plan no later than 21 days prior to the event being held. Should the variation be granted, these conditions will form part of the licence. We received no further representations from any other responsible authorities. However, we did receive information from BCP Council's Planning Department to inform that the premises do not currently have planning permission to hold music events, and should they wish to do so, they will need to apply for planning permission. The applicants are aware of this requirement. Members are now asked to consider whether to grant this application, and should it be granted and the applicants fail to operate in accordance with their licence and any conditions attached to it, they will be aware that any responsible authorities or other persons may request a review of the licence at any time. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tanya. Right. Mr. Phoebe, would you like to address the committee, please? Oh, sorry, Councillor Farquhar.
Thank you, Chair. Just for a point of clarification, because I'm just reading through the terms and conditions, because it's not clear, and it's not clear from the officer's presentation. When we talk about ×3, a maximum of ×3 licensed outdoor music and drive-in events, and then we talked about a maximum of 3 live music events per year with the conditions of 56 days notice. What I'm having difficulty understanding from that statement is it 3 music events and then a free-for-all for the drive-ins, or is it 3 music events plus as many drive-ins, or is it music events and drive-ins are only 3 times a year, so it could be any combination of that. So I just want clarification whether the drive-in cinema events is limited in any way, shape or form.
Tanya?
Okay, so my understanding, and Mr. Phoebe can clarify if I'm not correct, is that they're 2 separate things. So the films are as and when required, whilst the music events are limited to 3 per year.
Thank you, Chair. That clears that up.
Thank you, Councillor Farquhar. Councillor Moore, sorry, did you have any questions for the officer?
Yeah, not at this time. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Phoebe, would you be kind enough to address the committee, please?
Hello, yes, good morning. Thank you for considering my licensing application today. The purpose of the licensing application is to help us diversify the use of Poole Stadium, which we all know historically used to run greyhounds and speedway. So greyhounds as an industry is shrinking, and my company chose to cease trading with greyhounds back in 2020, partially as a result of the pandemic and the oncoming lockdown and the uncertainty surrounding large capacity events in the future. We've since successfully reintegrated Speedway following the lockdown and the pandemic, and they're continuing to be successful. And in order to help build the premises as a business and to contribute towards the people of Poole, we're looking to diversify into basically operating as an events venue for all manner of events, whether that would be conferences, family days, small concerts, anything that we can do that works within our facilities. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Phoebe. Right, okay. Members, do we have any questions, please, for Mr. Phoebe? Councillor Farquhar.
Yes, indeed, Chair. And kudos for expanding into, you know, the brave new world post-COVID as regards events, etc. I'm a little bit concerned that that you're looking to expand into the events business. Is this application for free licensed outdoor music events per year? Is this simply a trial to see if it actually functions? And do you plan to come back at a later date based upon that trial to actually have further music events, as you said that you were moving into events of a variety of different shapes and scales? Thank you.
Mr. Phoebe?
Yes, so Mr. Farquhar, in a certain sense, yes, it is a trial. We haven't held music events at the stadium for a very long time. It's purely a exercise to be able to expand what we can offer. We won't be looking to promote any events ourselves. Indeed, we will be looking to hire ourselves as a venue for other promotions and event organisers. We've sought, in conjunction with the Environmental Health Office and following their advice, onto how to stage it, and they've suggested that by starting with 3, we can make sure that that works successfully and we can manage that in such a way. And if we do feel at a later stage that there is a demand, and I am conscious that there are also other venues within the BCP area that also hold concerts, so I don't think we will exceed 3. Thinking of the Upton Country House, thinking of the Beta, Poole Harbour, over at Queen's Park. So I'm aware that there is a limit to how much promoters will try and do events in this area, but I wanted to be able to have the opportunity to try.
Thank you, Mr. Phoebe. Councillor Farquhar?
Thank you, Chair. Just heading on from that, and thanks very much for your candidness there, Mr. Phoebe. You said that that is going to be higher events, so the stadium itself will be used as a higher venue. So there'll be other organisations. You touched briefly upon the larger organisation and the ending of greyhound racing and the reintroduction of speedway. Is your larger, you'll have to remind me of the name, if your larger organisation familiar with other locations that they have on putting on festival events or live music events where there's a stage, etc.? Are they familiar, or would that be, do you anticipate that the venue would be hired and then a team would come in, I don't know, such as in Twickenham, and then they'll take care of the stage and all the rest of it? So a little bit of clarification on the experience, as it were, for your higher body in staging events at their venues.
Okay, so for my company, in terms of experience, for many years, we used to operate the lease and indeed manage Milton Keynes National Bowl. So we had a working relationship with Live Nation and Ticketmaster, where we would stage several rather large events that were in excess of 60,000 people, and the company would work with many people surrounding that. So from a very large scale of things, the company has got a great deal of experience, and indeed working relationships with people that do run this sort of venue.
Thank you, Mr. Phoebe. Just to confirm, Councillor Farquhar, that we can only consider the application that's before us this morning.
Absolutely, I appreciate that, Chair, and I appreciate Mr. Phoebe's candidness. You know, as a licensing authority, then obviously we look at the application and make our decisions based upon the application, but we also have a responsibility for the wider, shall I say, community as well. So just based upon that, and it's maybe not a question for Mr. Phoebe, if there has been any complaints of a licensing issue against the premises license for noise nuisance or anything like that, just while I formulate my next question. Thank you, Chair.
Tanya?
No, I checked before the hearing and I could not see any comments or any complaints with regards to these premises, or nothing pending in the past 3-4 years.
Thank you. Councillor Moore, did you have any questions for Mr. Phoebe?
Yeah, yes, thank you, Chair. Yeah, could I just ask about the film events, the drive-through? Have you found a promoter yet, or is this just a sort of you know, an exercise to see what would happen? You know, should you have one, and you know, you expect to be approached by promoters in the near future?
Sorry, there's a lot of shrill sound there. I'm assuming we're clear from that now. Yes, Councillor Moore, we were approached during post-pandemic by a couple of promoters with the opportunity to potentially try. And it certainly sort of piqued our interest as an opportunity to be able to do something. Now, when obviously the world kind of came back to normal of a nature, the inquiry went away at that time. But when I needed to put the variation application in, it seemed to be a wasted opportunity to not at least apply for the outdoor film events. And so that should we get approached by a promoter, that is something that we can consider. But there is nothing at this moment in time, and I have no contacts for anyone to promote.
Thanks for that. Could I just also ask about the planning application? Have you taken planning advice, or will you be, you know, going through the planning application, you know, after this meeting, if you were successful?
You've hit the nail perfectly on the head there. We will find out if we get the license first, and then once we know that, then we will then in turn work with planning and then make sure that we tick all the boxes that they need us to do so.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Moore. Councillor Farquhar.
Thank you, Chair. Just so as a follow on from Councillor Moore's point there, because I am extremely interested in a drive-in facility for our three towns, or at least an event location where it might actually come about. I'm looking at the actual license for the premises itself, and it doesn't, as far as I can see, the boundaries of the licensed premises license doesn't include the car park. Where would the drive-in event actually take place, and what sort of, if any, licensing activities would you consider providing to those that are taking advantage of the drive-in facility?
So with regards to the drive-in, and this is how we picture it from our previous conversations with promoters that have visited in the past, it will be staged on the centre green, with the screen being based against the back of our, what we refer to as our west stand or the glass stand. and that would give us the opportunity to be able to use our snack and food facilities to be able to provide soft drinks and cooked snack food as either something that we would take revenue from ourselves, or in terms of the promoter using franchisees to offer a similar package. So with regards to licensable, it's purely the broadcast of film outside. I can't think of any reason why a drive-in would attempt to sell alcohol.
Thanks, Chair. That was what I was looking for, was the seeking confirmation of what licensable activities would happen within the actual license itself.
Thank you, Councillor Farquhar. Can I apologise to everyone? That shrill was my landline activating, so apologies for that. Right, I did have a couple of questions, but Councillor Farquhar has stolen my thunder in terms of where the film event would take place, but I fully understand that now. My one concern I have is that the application for late night refreshment, the termination time is midnight, but your supply of alcohol, you're applying, for it to end at 0200. My thoughts were that those two activities may want to sort of run together. Don't know if you'd be able to share your thoughts on that, Mr. Phoebe.
So with regards to the sort of late night refreshments and the sale of alcohol, and although our license enables us at present to go till 2:30, we have never held an event that runs to 2:30. And in all fairness, I don't think we would ever generate the kind of event where we would generate the business to warrant staying open to 2:30. So all the reason for that time is purely so we don't lose it as an opportunity should another promoter want to come in and do events that are held indoors till that time. The late night refreshment side of things, I did have a conversation with a lady called Emma from the Democratic Services, who was kind of pointing out that I'd made possibly a little bit of a hiccup in how I applied for the timings, and they didn't coincide. The intent is that we would always offer late night refreshments in side by side along with any of the other licensable thing, but we have no intention of running late in that manner.
Thank you, Mr. Phoebe. Joanne.
Yeah, actually, if we could just clarify the point on late night refreshments, because at page 36 in the report, so this is the officer report, just at the top above the part that says consultation, it's the applicant has also included late night refreshments on their application form. However, this has been completed in error and there's no intention to vary the current permission. So I don't think late night refreshments is now part of this application. Is that correct?
That is correct. It is purely to consider the film and the outdoor music side of things, and everything else we wish to remain as was before.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Joanne. Members, do you have any further questions at all? No? Okay, it remains for me to just ask Mr. Phoebe, is there anything else that you'd like to bring to the committee's attention in support of your application?
The only thing that I will say is that we recognise that this would be a new type of venture for Poole in terms of at the stadium, and we have at every turn sought advice from the local authority and the police and any of the other people that have any interest in licensable activities, and we will continue to do so for, during, and in terms of debriefing with every event held.
Thank you, Mr. Phoebe. If there are no further questions from members or officers, I will now conclude the hearing. At the end of this meeting, the subcommittee will adjourn in private with the legal advisor and clerk to deliberate. The notification of the subcommittee's decision will be provided within the period of 5 working days, beginning with the day of the last day on which the hearing was held, in accordance with the regulations. The notification of decision will include information about the right of appeal as appropriate, and I think Joanne would probably just like to add to that. Joanne?
Thank you, Chair. It was just to obviously the objectors aren't here to present their case, so I think it's just that if we could just be clear that everyone's read the emails from the objectors, if we can just record that, I think, for fairness. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for that, Joanne. I'm sure members have seen those. They were right at the back of the agenda item via email, I believe, weren't they?
They were, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. Members happy that they've seen those objections? By the way, thank you, Councillor Moore. Thank you, Councillor Farquhar. Okay. There being no further business, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you, Mr. Phoebe, for your attendance.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time, everyone.
Thank you.